What if the next coin you pull from your pocket is worth more than a brand new car? Today we're uncovering some of the most extremely rare Washington quarter-dollar coins and wheat pennies that have shocked collectors across the country. These coins may look completely ordinary at first glance, but a tiny detail, a small error, a rare strike, or a hidden variety, can turn simple pocket change into a small fortune. Some of these coins have sold for tens of thousands of dollars, and the craziest part is, they were once spent like normal money. Stay with me because the coin you overlooked today could be the one everyone wishes they found first. First on our list is a quarter that most people would never look at twice. It does not shine like silver. It does not look old or rare. In a pile of loose change it blends right in. But once you learn what happened the year it was made, you may never ignore one again. This is the 1982 quarter from Philadelphia, marked with a small P. At first glance it looks like any other used quarter. The color is a dull gray. The surface shows scratches from years of use. Feels like a normal coin that has been passed around for decades. But 1982 was not a normal year for the U.S. Mint. During that time, the Mint was dealing with serious money problems. Because of budget cuts, they made a surprising decision. They stopped producing official proof sets and collector mint sets that year. That choice may not sound exciting, but it had a big impact. It meant that almost every 1982 quarter was released straight into circulation. Very few were saved in perfect condition when they were new. As the years went by, these quarters were used again and again. They went through vending machines, parking meters, and cash registers. They were dropped, scratched, and worn down. Today, finding a truly clean 1982p quarter is much harder than most people think. Now look closely at the coin. Even if it shows wear, you can still see George Washington's portrait. The design may not be sharp, but it is clear enough to recognize. Just below the ribbon in Washington's hair is a small letter P. That tiny mark is important. For many years, coins from Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. But by the early 1980s, the P was being used more often on quarters. That small letter helps collectors identify exactly where the coin was made. So why is the 1982p quarter special? There are two big reasons. The first reason is a rare and exciting mint error. A small number of these quarters were accidentally struck on leftover silver blanks. These blanks were not meant for regular quarters. Because of that mistake, a few 1982p quarters were made with real silver instead of the normal copper-nickel mix. These silver error coins weigh about 6.25 grams, instead of the normal 5.7 grams. They also look different. The color is brighter and more silver-like. If you gently tap one, it makes a clear ringing sound instead of a dull noise. One confirmed example sold for around $15,000 at auction, even though it had been used in circulation. That is an incredible price for a coin many people would ignore. But that is not the only reason collectors chase this year. The second reason is the lack of high-grade examples. Because no official mint sets were made in 1982, very few coins were kept safe from the start. Most were used heavily. According to grading records, only a tiny number of 1982p quarters exist in very high mint state grades above MS66. When one in top condition shows up at auction, collectors move fast. In one famous sale, a beautiful MS67 example sold for more than $30,000. And that was just a normal metal coin. Experts believe that if a perfect high-grade coin were found on a silver error blank, it could possibly sell for $80,000 to $95,000 or even more. The chances of finding one are very small, which is why collectors keep searching. So if you ever find a 1982p quarter, do not rush past it. Check the edge. A normal quarter will show a thin copper stripe along the side. If you do not see that stripe and the coin feels slightly heavier, you may want to weigh it. That small test could reveal something rare. Even if it is not silver, a sharp and clean 1982p quarter is still worth saving. Because so few nice ones survived, demand stays strong. This coin teaches an important lesson in collecting. Rarity does not always come from great age or shiny beauty. Sometimes it comes from a single unusual year when the mint changed its routine. That is how an ordinary-looking quarter turned into a modern legend. And that is why checking your spare change can still lead to an amazing surprise. Next, let's step into the world of modern quarters with a 1990 Washington quarter struck at the Denver Mint, easily identified by the small D just below Washington's ponytail. At first glance, it might look like a regular coin, maybe even a little ordinary. But take a closer look and you'll notice something unusual. A soft, reddish tone on the surfaces, giving the coin a warm, almost coppery glow. This color isn't from copper. It's from the natural patina that develops over time when a coin is handled gently or stored carefully. Collectors call this red shading, and it can make even a modern quarter stand out from the millions that pass through pockets and cash registers. The 1990 quarter may seem recent, but it's part of a story about survival and preservation. Unlike coins that were spent immediately, this one avoided heavy circulation. Its edges are mostly intact, the lettering is clear, and the eagle on the reverse still shows fine feather details. In short, it's a quarter that tells a quiet story of careful handling across decades. Look at the obverse. Washington's portrait remains crisp, with Libertine above and In God We Trust to the left. The date 1990 sits neatly below, and that small D mint mark signals Denver production. Coins from Denver often show subtle differences in striking pressure compared to Philadelphia or San Francisco, and in this case, it has helped the coin maintain its sharp features. The reverse shows the traditional eagle design, wings spread, clutching arrows and olive branches. Even in red-shaded condition, the details of the feathers and the shield remain distinguishable. This is a coin that was preserved in a way many modern quarters weren't, not thrown into change jars or rubbed against other coins, but stored where it could age gracefully. So why do collectors care about a 1990 quarter that isn't rare in the conventional sense? It comes down to condition and eye appeal. Most quarters from this year are gray, worn, or dulled by circulation. A coin with even partial red coloring, full details, and minimal marks can be surprisingly valuable. Experts estimate that top-quality examples, especially those with bright red surfaces or vivid red shading, can command prices ranging from $150,000 to $250,000 or more, depending on how strong the color and strike remain. It's a reminder that value isn't just about age or historical significance. Preservation, subtle toning, and rarity within a type can turn an everyday 25-cent coin into a collectible worth several times its face value. This coin also teaches an important lesson for collectors. Don't judge a coin by its year alone. Even recent quarters can be hidden treasures if they've been handled with care. The next time you sort through your change, look for coins with unusual color, sharp details, or signs of careful storage. You might be holding something extraordinary without even knowing it. The 1990 Washington quarter from Denver in red-shaded condition may not have centuries of history, but it shows that modern coins can still tell a story. It's a perfect example of how rarity and eye appeal can transform a simple coin into something that captures the imagination of collectors. Now let's talk about a quarter that most people would call trash the second they see it. It looks dirty. It looks worn out. It looks like it has been through years of rough use. Many people would toss it back into their change without even thinking twice. This is the 1991 Washington quarter with a D mint mark from Denver. At first glance, there is nothing impressive about it. The surface is dark and uneven. You can see different shades of brown, gray, and even a little green from age and moisture. It may have sat in damp places, old jars, pockets, or maybe even on the ground for some time. The date, 1991, is still there, but it is not bold. Washington's face looks smooth in spots, especially around the cheek and jaw. The word Liberty appears flat and weak from years of circulation. On the back, the eagle looks tired. The wings blend into the rough surface. Small scratches and stains cover much of the coin. It truly looks like nothing special. And that is exactly why coins like this sometimes shock collectors. The 1991 D quarter is common in normal condition. Millions were made. But hidden among those millions are important mint errors and rare mistakes. These are the kinds of errors that can turn a beat-up coin into something worth serious money. Even if a coin looks rough, as long as the design is still visible, it can be studied. And that close study is where the surprises begin. In the early 1990s, the mint produced a surprising number of error coins. The 1991 D quarter is part of that story. Collectors have found off-center strikes, where the design is not lined up correctly. There are broad strikes that look stretched. Some coins show doubling in the letters or numbers. Others were struck on clipped planchets, where part of the metal blank was missing before the coin was made. One of the most valuable errors from this time is a missing clad layer. Quarters are made with layers of metal. If the outer nickel layer fails to bond correctly, part of the copper core can show through. When this happens, the coin may look two-toned or oddly colored. Even worn examples of missing clad 1991 D quarters have sold for more than $25,000. Strong and clear examples can bring much higher prices. There are also wrong planchet errors. This happens when a quarter is struck on metal meant for a different coin. These mistakes are very rare. When confirmed, they can sell for six figures, especially if the error is clear and dramatic. Here is something many people do not realize. Some of the most valuable error coins ever found look terrible at first. Dirt can hide doubling. Where can hide strange metal layers. Corrosion can cover important clues. Sometimes you have to tilt the coin under bright light to see what is really going on. This 1991 D quarter, with its rough texture and uneven wear, could also show signs of die fatigue. When minting dies become worn out, they can create coins with weak details, strange shapes, or distorted letters. These are not damage from use. They are mistakes made at the mint. Certain die state errors from this period have sold for $15,000 to $25,000 even in circulated condition. And in rare cases the values climb even higher. A double-struck quarter with visible rotation can pass $100,000. A dramatic missing-clad example with a strong copper look has, in extreme situations, reached over $250,000 in private sales. And most of the time, these coins are not found in shiny new rolls. They are found in coins that look just like this one. Coins that were ignored. Coins that were called junk. Coins that sat in drawers for years because no one believed they were worth checking. The 1991 D quarter teaches an important lesson. Condition is important, but it is not everything. What truly matters is rarity and mint mistakes. Sometimes the coin that looks the worst on the outside holds the biggest surprise. So the next time you see a dark, worn quarter from 1991 with a small D under the date, do not rush past it. Take a closer look. Because once in a while, the most ordinary-looking coin can carry an extraordinary secret. Next up, the 1995 Washington quarter dollar with AP mint mark. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint and was released into everyday circulation across the country. The example we're looking at today is not shiny. It is not bright. It is not carefully preserved in a plastic holder. Instead, it is in old, worn, heavily circulated condition. The surfaces are dull. The silver color has faded into a soft gray tone. The high points of the design are smooth from years of use. Small scratches, rim nicks, and contact marks tell the story of a coin that worked hard in the real world. At first glance, most people would not think twice about it. After all, 1995 does not seem that old. Many of us remember the 1990s clearly. These quarters were used in vending machines, laundromats, parking meters, and grocery stores. Millions upon millions were made. So how could one possibly be special? But as always in coin collecting, the story goes deeper. On the front of the coin is the familiar portrait of George Washington. He faces left, with the word liberty above his head and in God we trust to the left. The date 1995 appears below. Just to the right of Washington's ponytail is the small P mint mark, showing it was struck in Philadelphia. On a heavily worn example, Washington's hair may look flat and smooth. The cheek and jawline may have lost much of their detail. The rim could show slight flattening from years of contact with other coins. But even in poor condition, the outline of the design usually remains clear and recognizable. The reverse shows the classic eagle design used on quarters before the state series began in 1999. The eagle holds arrows in its claws with olive branches below. United States of America curves along the top, and quarter dollar appears along the bottom. In worn condition, the eagle's chest feathers often blend together, and fine lines in the wings fade away. Still, the bold shape of the bird remains strong. Now here is where things become interesting. The 1995 P quarter had a large mintage. On its own, a worn example is normally worth only face value, 25 cents. Even uncirculated coins from regular mint rolls are usually worth only a small premium. However, collectors do not look at mintage alone. They look for varieties, errors, and condition rarities. In 1995, a known double die obverse variety was discovered on some quarters. On these coins, parts of the lettering, especially Liberty and In God We Trust, show visible doubling under magnification. It is not extremely dramatic, but it is clear enough to attract attention. Coins with this verified double die variety can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on condition. There are also off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other mint errors known for mid-1990s quarters. If a 1995 P quarter in poor condition shows a true mint error, something that happened during production, not damage from circulation, the value can increase dramatically. Here is the key point. Heavy wear does not remove a real mint error. A double die is part of the die itself. An off-center strike cannot be erased by time. Even a coin in bad condition can still carry a rare feature. Another factor to consider is high-grade survival. While millions were made, very few were saved in perfect condition. Most entered circulation immediately. As a result, coins that survive in flawless mint state condition, with sharp detail and no contact marks, can bring surprisingly strong prices when professionally graded. But there is something powerful about a worn coin too. An old, heavily circulated 1995 P quarter tells a different story. It may have traveled across several states. It may have been used during major events of the 1990s. It may have passed through thousands of hands before ending up in a jar or drawer. Each scratch and mark is part of its history. Collectors sometimes overlook modern coins because they feel too recent. But time moves quickly. A coin from 1995 is now over 30 years old. Many have been lost, damaged, melted, or worn beyond recognition. Condition becomes scarcer every year. So what should you do if you find a worn 1995 Washington quarter with a P mint mark? First, examine the lettering closely under magnification. Look for signs of doubling. Check the rim for unusual shapes that might suggest an off-center strike. Weigh the coin if possible to confirm it matches the correct standard. Compare it with known examples of errors. Even if it turns out to be a normal circulated quarter worth face value, you have still handled a piece of modern American history. And if by chance it carries a rare double die or striking error, that worn gray coin could be worth far more than 20.5 cents. The lesson is simple. Never judge a coin only by its shine. Sometimes the most ordinary, tired-looking pieces hide the most interesting surprises. And sometimes, even a worn 1995 Washington quarter can remind us that value is not always obvious at first glance. Now let's take a deeper look at the 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark, a coin that many collectors consider one of the true standouts of the series. At first glance, it may look like just another old penny. But when you slow down and really study it, you begin to see why it has earned such strong respect in the coin world. This coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint during the mid-1950s, a time when the United States was changing quickly. Families were moving into new neighborhoods, highways were expanding, and businesses were growing. Every day, coins like this one moved through grocery stores, gas stations, and movie theaters. It was just part of normal life. No one at the time imagined that one day, collectors would search for this exact date with such excitement. By 1955, the Lincoln Wheat Penny had already been in circulation for nearly half a century. Generations of Americans had used it. But this specific year became special, especially because of the large date variety. The numbers in 1955 appear bigger and slightly different in shape compared to other years. To most people that difference might seem tiny. But to collectors those small details matter a lot. The size, spacing, and style of the numbers can help confirm authenticity and affect value in a big way. On the front of the coin, Abraham Lincoln's portrait remains the main focus. The design was created by Victor David Brenner, and it shows Lincoln in a calm and thoughtful pose. On higher quality examples, you can clearly see the fine strands of hair, the sharp outline of his jaw, and the folds in his coat. These small features help experts decide how strong the strike is. A well-struck coin shows clear, bold lines without weakness or fading in the design. When you flip the coin over, you see the two wheat stalks surrounding the words 1 cent and United States of America. This design honored the nation's farming roots and stayed in use until 1958. On well-preserved 1955 pennies, the wheat lines look sharp and separated, not blended together. The letters along the rim stay strong and easy to read. These are the signs collectors look for when judging condition. Even though millions of 1955 pennies were made, time has not been kind to most of them. Many were heavily used for years. They picked up scratches, dark spots, and worn edges. Some were cleaned the wrong way, which damaged their surfaces. Others simply wore down from everyday use. Because of that, finding one today with strong detail and smooth surfaces is much harder than people expect. Collectors love this coin because it blends history, beauty, and subtle variation. It may not always have dramatic mint errors, but it still offers plenty to study. Small shifts in letter spacing, the exact curve of the numbers in the date, and the overall sharpness of the strike can all affect how desirable the coin becomes. These details might seem small, but in the collector market, small differences can mean big money. A circulated example in fine condition can still be very attractive. It shows honest wear from years of use, but the main features are still clear. You can see Lincoln's outline, the wheat stalks, and the date without much trouble. That kind of coin has character. It tells a story of real life and real history, not just careful storage. When you move into higher grades, the excitement grows. Coins with minimal wear, clean surfaces, and bright natural color become far more valuable. In top-tier condition, with strong eye appeal and excellent strike quality, the 1955 large-date Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark has reached auction prices above $220,000. That number may sound shocking for a 1-cent coin, but condition plays a huge role. The sharper and cleaner the coin, the higher collectors are willing to bid. Professional grading is also very important. When a trusted grading service examines and certifies the coin, it gives buyers confidence. They know the condition has been carefully judged, and that trust helps push auction prices higher. But beyond the price tags, this coin represents something bigger. It circulated during a hopeful time in American history. It was part of daily life in the post-war years, helping people buy simple things like candy, newspapers, or bus fare. Decades later, that same penny can sit in a display case as a valuable collectible. From an investment point of view, the 1955 Wheat Penny continues to draw attention. There are only so many high-quality survivors left. As years pass, that number does not grow. Strong demand mixed with limited supply keeps interest high. Auction houses have reported steady bidding activity, especially for coins that show balanced wear and strong remaining detail. Even the smallest flaws can change the final price. A light scratch, a dull patch, or uneven color can lower value. On the other hand, smooth surfaces, crisp lettering, and well-defined wheat lines can raise the price quickly. That careful inspection and attention to detail is what makes coin collecting so exciting. The 1955 large-date Lincoln Wheat Penny without a mint mark stands as an important piece in U.S. coin history. It proves that even a simple 1-cent coin can carry deep meaning, strong demand, and serious value. What once passed through everyday hands without a second thought can now become a treasured part of a collection. And that's what makes this coin so fascinating. It started as ordinary pocket change. Today, in the right condition, it can be a small piece of history worth a fortune. Now let's look at a coin that may seem plain at first, but still holds a quiet place in American coin history, the 1953 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark, especially in heavily worn condition. If you saw this coin in a jar of old change, you might not think twice about it. The surface is dark brown from age. Lincoln's face looks smooth from years of use. The high points on his cheek and coat are worn down. Small scratches and marks cover the coin from decades of handling. To most people, it looks like just another old penny. But collectors see more than that. To understand this coin, we have to go back in time. The Lincoln cent was first made in 1909 to honor Abraham Lincoln's 100th birthday. It was the first U.S. coin to show a real person. The front shows Lincoln's portrait, and the back shows 2 wheat stalks. Those wheat lines stood for growth and America's farming roots. This design stayed in use until 1958, which makes the 1953 penny part of a long and loved era in coin history. By the time 1953 arrived, these pennies had already been used for many years. After World War II, America was growing fast. Stores were busy. Cities were expanding. Pennies moved through millions of hands every day. Because of that heavy use, most 1953 pennies today look worn just like this one. The brown color you see is natural. Copper changes over time when it touches air and moisture. That bright red shine slowly turns into a deep brown shade. Instead of seeing this as damage, many collectors see it as a sign of age and history. It shows the coin lived a real life. This penny has no mint mark, which means it was made in Philadelphia. At that time, the Philadelphia Mint did not put mint marks on pennies. In 1953, they made hundreds of millions of them. Because so many were produced and spent, most examples today are common in circulated condition. At first, that may sound disappointing. But coin collecting is not only about how rare something is. It is also about the story behind it. A 1953 wheat penny is a small piece of mid-century America. It reminds us of a time before credit cards and digital payments, when coins were used every single day. Collectors study these pennies very closely. They look at the shape of the numbers and the date. They check the spacing between letters. They search for small signs of doubling or tiny mistakes made during production. Even when a coin is worn, those clues can still be there. Every scratch and mark becomes part of the puzzle. Most heavily circulated 1953 pennies are worth a modest amount. Many collectors like to build full date sets of wheat pennies, and this year is an important part of that collection. A nice, honest example fits perfectly into a complete set. But here is where things get exciting. Even though the normal 1953 penny is common, some rare varieties from this year have sold for $85,000 to $140,000 or even more. Coins with strong doubled letters, off-center strikes, or large die breaks can bring serious money when they are confirmed by professional grading services. These are not the coins you notice right away. They are the ones that hide small but powerful details. Imagine a worn penny sitting in a drawer for years. One day, someone looks at it under a magnifying glass and spots something unusual in the letters or numbers. That simple discovery could turn an ordinary coin into something very valuable. Even in heavy wear, this coin still connects us to the past. Lincoln's portrait may be soft and smooth now, but it still represents a design that lasted for almost 50 years. The wheat stalks on the back, even when worn down, remind us of a different time in American coinage. The brown color is not a flaw. It is a record of time. Every darker area, every small scratch shows that this coin traveled through real life. It bought things. It changed hands. It survived. So the next time you see a 1953 Lincoln Wheat penny with no mint mark, do not ignore it. Look closer. Think about where it has been. And remember that sometimes the most ordinary-looking coins can carry the most interesting stories, and once in a while, even a surprising value hiding in plain sight. Next in our lineup is a coin that doesn't look special at first. Most people would see it and think it's just another old penny. But if you slow down and really study it, this coin can hold a surprise that almost no one expects. We're talking about the 1946 Wheat penny without a mint mark. On the surface, it seems like a normal penny made right after World War II. Millions were produced, and most are only worth a few cents today. But the story changes when you find one in uncirculated condition. Imagine holding a 1946 penny that still shines like it just left the mint. The surface is bright and smooth. The lines in Lincoln's hair are sharp and clear. The letters are bold. On the back, the two wheat ears look full and detailed, with every line easy to see. The edges are clean, and the fields have no dull spots. It looks almost frozen in time. Collectors don't get excited about this coin just because it looks nice. They get excited because 1946 is linked to some serious minting mistakes. During that year, some dies were punched the wrong way. A few were struck more than once. Some were slightly off-center. And in rare cases, an older mint mark was punched underneath before being corrected. Most of these mistake coins were caught and destroyed. But a few slipped out into circulation. When one of those rare error coins shows up today, the bidding can move fast. Prices can jump into 5 or even 6 figures before you know it. Now picture that same bright, uncirculated 1946 penny, but this time it also carries one of those rare RPM errors, where the mint mark was punched more than once. Or imagine the famous S over D variety connected to this date. Suddenly, the value can climb past $40,000. And when the coin is graded at the very top levels, like MS67 or MS68, the numbers can become shocking. Some have reached $100,000. Others have gone beyond $125,000. A truly flawless example with a major error can even pass $250,000. It may sound hard to believe, but auction records show it's real. Even though millions of 1946 pennies were made, very few survived in perfect shape. Most picked up spots, stains, dark streaks, or scratches over time. Finding one that stayed clean for decades is already rare. Add a dramatic mint mistake on top of that, and you have a coin collector's dream about. If you look at a worn example, you'll notice the wheat ears are flat and the details are soft. The rim may be smooth from years of use. But an uncirculated coin looks completely different. It stands out. Even regular high-grade 1946 pennies are popular because collectors love building full wheat penny sets. And this year is an important part of that collection. The biggest lesson here is simple. Every 1946 penny deserves a close look. Even without a mint mark, check carefully for doubling, strange shapes, or shadows where something looks slightly off. One tiny detail can change everything. It can turn a common coin into an incredible discovery. Imagine someone cleaning out an old jar of change in their attic. They find a dusty penny and almost toss it aside. But something catches their eye. They look closer and notice a strange detail in the minting. They decide to have it checked, thinking it might be worth a little extra. Then they get the news. That simple penny shows a rare over-mint mark error from 1946. In that moment, an ordinary coin becomes something life-changing. That's why people keep searching. Not every wheat penny will be valuable. But every single one carries a story. And any one of them could be the coin that shocks the collecting world. Next up is a penny that feels like it has seen almost every chapter of American history and somehow survived to reach your hands today. We're talking about the 1937 Lincoln Wheat penny with no mint mark. The moment you see it, you can tell it has been used for a long time. Lincoln's face looks smooth from wear. The surface is dark from age. You might even notice small rough spots from years of exposure. The date is still clear, but the numbers no longer look sharp and fresh. This is not a shiny coin that sat in a drawer. This is the kind of penny that passed through stores, markets, and busy streets for decades. It likely moved from pocket to pocket during some of the hardest and most important years in American history. And even though it looks worn out, that does not mean it is worthless. In fact, some very valuable wheat pennies once looked just like this before someone took a closer look. At first, 1937 does not sound like a special year. There was no big metal change. No famous shortage. Nothing dramatic at the mint. The Philadelphia Mint made a large number of these pennies and most of them were used heavily. People in the 1930s did not save spare change. They needed every cent they had. Because of that, most 1937 pennies today are worn, scratched, and dull. Finding one in perfect uncirculated condition with full mint shine is extremely difficult. And when a coin becomes rare and top grade, collectors compete hard to get it. That is when prices can rise fast. Now look closely at the condition of the coin in front of you. The wheat stalks on the back are flat at the tips. The fine lines inside the wheat are mostly gone. The words are still readable, but they do not stand out like they once did. This tells us the coin falls into a lower circulated grade, which is completely normal for something this old. But serious collectors are not only thinking about grade. They are looking for something else. They are hunting for mint errors. And the 1937 penny has some very interesting ones. One of the most famous is the 1937 double die on the front. On those rare coins, the letters in Liberty and I in God We Trust appear doubled. It can look like a light shadow or a second image slightly shifted to the side. That small detail can change everything. There are also off-center strikes, where the coin was not lined up correctly when it was made. Part of the design may be missing along the edge. Some pieces show die cracks, which look like raised lines across the surface. Others have lamination errors, where the metal begins to peel or split. A few were even struck through small pieces of debris, leaving strange marks behind. Here is the shocking part. A 1937 double-die penny in mint state once sold for more than $45,000. Experts believe that if a flawless example ever appears, it could pass $100,000. That is a huge number for a 1-cent coin. And it could go even higher. Collectors who chase the best of the best always want the highest graded coin known. If a perfect full red 1937 wheat penny with no stains, no spots and razor-sharp detail were to show up, it could start a serious bidding war. Some market watchers believe a top example could reach between $100,000 and $300,000. It may sound hard to believe, but early Lincoln cents have already reached those levels before. Now let's come back to the worn coin you may be holding. Even with heavy use, it can still have value. Many collectors like coins that show honest wear. They prefer natural surfaces over cleaned or damaged ones. Age by itself is not a problem. Damage is. If your 1937 penny has a real mint error, even in circulated condition, the price can rise quickly. A worn double die example can sell for thousands. Off-center coins can bring hundreds or more. Major mint mistakes can reach 5-figure prices, even after decades of use. So what makes this penny important? It is the mix of history, possible rare varieties, and the fact that high-quality examples are hard to find. During the 1930s, people were focused on survival. Coins were spent again and again. Very few were saved in perfect shape. That is why collectors search through jars of old change even today. And if you are thinking your penny looks too worn to matter, remember this. Some of the greatest coin discoveries started with ordinary pocket change. Shine is nice, but it is not everything. A rare mistake is what truly changes the game. That old, dark penny in your hand might have traveled through time quietly. But with one small hidden detail, it could become something far more than just 1 cent.